Spaces Commission meeting to order for January 23rd, 2023. Robert, can we have a roll call?
Thank you. Commissioner Mike Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Bruce Allen. Here. Commissioner Bruce Fox. Here. Commissioner Mary Norton.
Here.
Commissioner Lynn Wallman.
I'm here.
And Commissioner Nat White is absent, and Commissioner Julian Mershon is absent. Then Council Member Representative Deborah Harris.
Here.
Join us.
All right, so we'll move on to the land acknowledgement statement. The Flagstaff Open Spaces Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to the indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home. And then move on to item number 4, which is the approval of the December 5th, 2022 meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look and review the minutes for the meeting. Is there any discussion or corrections to the minutes as they're written?
No, seems accurate. I move to approve the minutes.
And I would like to make one comment before we move on to the motion. I believe that on those minutes, that Commissioner Wallen made the motion to approve, and Commissioner Norton seconded the approval of the September 26, 2022 meet the minutes. So I'd like to amend that portion of the minutes and make that correction. So now if you would like to make a motion as amended.
So I move to approve the minutes of December 6th as amended.
And do I hear a second?
This is Commissioner Norton. I can make the second.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
And those that oppose? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as amended. So down to public participation. At this time, any member of the public may address the commission on any subject that is not scheduled before the commission on this day. The Arizona open meeting law prohibits the commission from discussing or acting on an item which is not listed on the prepared agenda. Commission members may, however, respond to criticism made by those addressing the commission, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. To address the commission on an item that is on the agenda, please wait for the chair to call for public comment at the time that item is heard. So is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on a subject that's not on the agenda tonight? Hearing none?
I'll make an announcement. There's no other public comment. Chair. I wanted to acknowledge that we have a new commissioner and a new council member representative, Commissioner Bruce Fox, and council member representative Deborah Harris. I wanted to provide them a little bit of space if they wanted to do a short introduction themselves.
I'll go ahead. Bruce Fox, recently retired as a forest professor at NAU. Been involved in, my wife and I have been here in Flagstaff since 1985. Raised both of our kids here. Been involved with the Flagstaff Leadership Program. Serving on the board of Theatricos, and I served 2 terms as on this commission in the past. I served as chair for a year and been looking forward to returning and getting my forest trail.
Member Representative
Uh,
Deborah Harris.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm delighted to be your liaison to council, and I'm sure I'm going to learn lots of interesting things. So that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both for joining us. I guess we'll move on to the business items. Moving right along. First one is the strategic plan review and revisions. The requested action on this one is it's an informational item with discussion. Robert, you want to get us started with this?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'll just, for the benefit of everyone, we left off on our last meeting revisiting the commission's strategic plan and providing recommendations for making revisions to that strategic plan and selecting priorities for this new year. And so I thought if we just pick up that conversation where we left off, I thought it might be helpful to go through the commission's authority prior to jumping back into that. So I'm just going to start by kind of going through these points, and then if the commissioners have questions or comments. So it should be the commission's duty to advise city council on acquisition, preservation, and alternatives to open space management. The duties of the commission shall include, but not be limited to, reviewing and advising the council on the development of designated open space and the policies that provide a broad, long-term direction for planning and decision-making for those plans. Advising and assisting the mayor and city council on ways to educate and involve the community on the value, protection, and stewardship of lands. Advising and assisting the mayor and city council on ways to work collaboratively with other governmental entities, organizations, and departments to advance and ensure the implementation of the open space management plan in the Flagstaff regional land use and transportation. Advising and assisting the mayor and city council regarding regional open space issues, as well as to any regional open space coalition that may be formed in the future relative to lands designated as open space in the greater Flagstaff area open spaces and green management plan. And obtaining public input and participation in various programs such as environmental education and interpretation on the use, operation, and management of space, and providing information concerning the goals, projects, and operations of the open space section. I thought I would just start by sharing those. I did have a couple of questions about whether or not some of the goals that we were discussing fell within the Open Spaces Commission's ordinance. So I thought maybe I'd start by sharing those to provide a little bit of clarity from our last discussion, and hopefully that'll provide some clarity moving forward. Are there no questions or comments about that? I can pick up where we left off last time. So, some of the discussion of the commission last time revolved around goals, revisions, and comments that were discussed in December. And I tried to pick out the most common goals that were discussed amongst the commission. Hopefully I captured those. And I feel like this does reflect a lot of the current strategic plan as well. But what I captured was to maintain current open space. So an example of that would be ensuring a net gain, net loss, keeping up signs and making sure signs, directional signs and interpretive signs are implemented. Keeping up weeds, trails, and that sort of thing. to see an integrated open space system become a reality through prioritized acquisitions, recognition, and capitalization of opportunities that become available, and the expansion of the open space section. Sustainable funding for the section to move those priorities forward, to maintain and expand important partnerships, such as easement holders that have easements on open space property, outside funders, et cetera. To work with tribes to co-manage open space, to enhance community knowledge and education, to collaborate more with community development and open space preservation, to complete the Greater Mesa Trail Plan, to update the city code to be more inclusive for open space, to work on a master plan for open space, and to draft up some amendments for the regional plan. That's what I captured as the group's goals from our last discussion. I'll just pause there for a minute and see if there's anything that I might have left out, or if that seemed too many.
I mean, demonstrate my ignorance. Taking care of early. You have one of the points here is enhance work with tribes, and I didn't see it may be in here to work with other agencies, work with other state and federal agencies, especially places like where the open space borders on Forest Service or state lands.
So adding that is content within the future plan. Can certainly make that revision.
Robert, it might be helpful to talk, because last time we talked about what all the different plans were. You know, there's like the Greenways plan, space plan, there's the Parks Recreation Open Space plan, there's the Commission's plan, and then there's our plan. So it might be helpful to go over that again.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it does bring up a good point, because we have a number of plans and there's overlap, and so I think that there can be confusion between some of the different things. The open spaces and greenways plan was first created to help guide the community towards a vision for open space that was created in 1998, before the commission existed. And then our program has its own management plan. That's the legally designated space management plan that your ordinance references. And that guides our program in the management of our properties. And so, you know, something like the comment that you made, Commissioner Fox, might fit better in our open space management plan, but we certainly can work to include that in the strategic plan as well. And then the Open Spaces Commission strategic plan is here to help guide the commissioners throughout the year on moving forward the goals that you feel necessary to help make appropriate recommendations to our program and to city council to move the open spaces. We currently do not have an extensive strategic plan for our program, but it is something that we are working on. We have a 2-page strategic plan that outlines the basic goals and objectives for our program. And then we have that more detailed management plan for all of our open space properties, or for the main legally designated open space properties. And that's kind of our main guiding document. And then we do not have it yet, but we hope to have a master plan for our program within a couple of years. And that is something that's just mentioning to the commissioner's question. We're working on a combined master plan for parks, recreation, and open space and defense. That we'd love for you guys to have some contributions. I don't know. So.
I think that's specified more in terms of strategic plan in strategic plan teams, that page 3 of the 24, that religious commitment and partnership are essential to success, and that's really just having it all in there, I think. Yeah, yeah, so, I think that's more, in the more general, in the more broader scope.
We'll stop me if you have further comments or questions. Thanks. So this is the list of the comments that and revision thoughts from our last meeting. We did work to incorporate these and track changes within the strategic plan. We can pull that up here in a few minutes. So we worked to update the status charts, Schultz Creek language. We included some additional language with these page revisions were incorporated as well. And then some general comments as well as far as like the master plan involvement, being proactive between meetings. The only 3 that were not incorporated that were talked about by the commissioners during the last meeting of these last 3, and that's the Schultz Creek trailhead implementation. As you all know, the Schultz Creek had some detention basins installed on that to support flooding leaks due to recent wildfires. And going forward, we're going to be working with stormwater engineering and Forest Service to implement a trail connection to Forest Service. But likely this will not be in the open spaces sections purview of managing anymore in the fall of stormwater moving forward, or perhaps some other entity in city. But I didn't provide any additional updates in the strategic plan for the commission on that particular topic. And then one of the topics that were talked about was increasing accessibility goals for open space. We didn't add any additional content on the strategic plan for the commission. We are doing a couple of things that are moving forward. We're working on a trail plan for Serpentine Mesa, which includes some accessibility points, and then Parks is working on a plan for Buffalo Park that they're working on implementing that would include some more accessible trails there. And then the last one was what is happening in other commissions. We do have a commission quarterly newsletter that the clerk's office puts together, and so I think that might be. Questions, comments about the revisions from last discussion?
I think I have a question in terms of, I can't remember what actually we decided about the sign. Remember that we talked about the sign, whether that 1 sign, whether 2 sign, or whether that's really detail or just the general thing.
Yeah, you're referring to the McMillan Mesa proposition. Yeah, I think what I collectively remember from that discussion was we will work on applying for a grant for the entire natural area that will implement signs. And in the meantime, before we're funded for that, we will look into the design of one kind of welcome sign near the main intersection by the bridge there. And look towards moving forward with that prior to getting grant.
And that's in process.
Yes, yep. It's on our radar.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I see that Commissioner Norton has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. Robert, I just wanted to say what a great job you did in encapsulating all of our comments, and it was such a robust discussion last month, and you just did a really great job getting all these implemented and down on paper and updated. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. So out of the main goals that were discussed, we tried to better incorporate these goals into the overall strategic plan. Hopefully, we made that. I wasn't sure at what point to interject this comment, but Commissioner Nat White, who wasn't able to make it here today, didn't have a comment on the strategic plan. that I'll go ahead and read now just for lack of a better place. And he can clarify it the next meeting. He apologizes that he wasn't able to meet today. But he said he has a question to share with the commission and perhaps legal of the city. And this question is, can we alert the planning and zoning commission where open space goals can be thwarted? An example, there is a natural ledge atop a steep slope on the undeveloped side of Mesa Drive overlooking Highway 180. The Board of Justice was asking to allow development with input from a few citizens, but was denied basically. So, however, the greatest value of the property, in my opinion, was a rock ledge, oak tree populated path that would be a beautiful foot swing. Preserving that and the special environment needs meets many of the open spaces commission goals. And here's this question. Does the commission want to, or is it allowed to advise or assist the planning and zoning commission when requests are made to develop a parcel that contains, in this case, environmentally special block ledge and environmentally special block ledge? I understand that we have authority, but raising the concern is a sensible thing. At the very least, raises the issue. Could this be added to the list of responsibilities of open spaces commission? So Commissioner White sent me that as feedback on the strategic plan. And I do think that one of the things that the commission discussed really closely, or really thoroughly last time, was the option of having more of a relationship with planning and zoning and with community development as well. At one point, I'll just add real quick this. I did invite a couple of my colleagues from community development to our commission, to your commission's meeting, and they are going to try to plan that for next month in February to talk a little bit about community development and what they foresee, what they see the open spaces commission's role is. So that would be great to provide some thoughts and comments and questions for that meeting. So moving on, I think we can pull up the strategic plan in a minute here, but I wanted to just kind of get you thinking that if there are 3 goals that the commission was hoping to work on this year, what those might be. And so the main goals that we discussed are listed up here again. Those are the main goals that were discussed. And of course, these align very well with the strategic plan. And I'd like to just have you all think about what those goals maybe should be for this year. If you're just going to narrow them down to 3. While I'm pulling up the strategic plan, perhaps I can ask the commissioners to go around the table and select the top 3 priorities.
Can I ask one question? The goals that have the double asterisk. Can you explain what that?
Yeah, so I just preliminarily went and did a staff exercise and was trying to think about, how maybe, what maybe the long goals for our section might be. And those are some thoughts that I put down that might be more important. But that doesn't necessarily mean in those areas.
Anybody want to start with
Yeah, I'll switch over to the strategic plan while you're gathering the thoughts. So we worked on implementing these suggestions to the commission as well. So if you didn't add to what I've said.
So are you looking at your track changes?
This is the chart.
Okay.
Yes.
So I tried to take the comments from last month's meeting and integrate them into the strategic plan and kept track changes. Do you have any questions?
I noticed in this one that we change it in terms of program to section. Does that mean that we just bigger scope or what's behind it?
You know, I did take that initiative. You know, we've been working with 100 pros now. And one of the requirements of the section is reporting directly to the division head. And we do report to Rebecca, the division head. So I just made that change. That hasn't been something that's been formally adopted in the city's process.
Thank you.
And I think I might have missed Commissioner Norton's hand, but I've seen that you lowered it. Do you still have a question, Commissioner?
No, I was just going to give my 3 goals, but if, I think I can see why you want to go through some of these track changes first. So that I'll hold my comments until we get to that point again.
I can just kind of go through this. So in chapter 1, we made some very minor changes. The same thing with the visions of the commission. The vision of the Open Spaces Commission. Given the discussion last time, we thought that the strategic plan's main themes pretty much captured most of the thoughts, with maybe the addition of having another main theme of acquiring property for the open space system. I wasn't sure if number 1 really captured that idea as far as preserving Flagstaff open space as a high priority. If that theme was more about our existing open space, or if we needed to have an additional theme to move, or to be more clear that the commission is interested in moving the open space system. So I was going to put in some content. Didn't get around to adding a content, but if there is interest in that, we can certainly draft something.
And there's more particular goals further down. This is just like the theme from the discussion.
So I could use some input on that particular comment there, but I can certainly move forward and back to that. The next section is called Flagstaff open spaces definitions. And we thought that, you know, these definitions were well suited for the strategic plan. One of the things that our open spaces management plan for our section outlines are the differences between regional reserves, complementary open space, and connectors, and the terms that we use in those. I added those in here under the thought that that might help bring clarity to your strategic plan as well. Regional preserves being plans designated or dedicated for the purpose of preserving natural, cultural, and scenic resources to enhance the recreation and educational opportunities. And so our regional preserves being Fisher Canyon, McMillan Mesa, and Observatory Mesa. Complementary open space is open space that the Greenways open space plan calls neighborhoods. And they're generally smaller than regional preserves. They're properties that add to user experience and provide additional value to the existing open space system through providing buffers or protecting view sheds or improving a trail transit and recreational opportunities. So this might be a small strip of land that provides that neighborhood really great opportunities for getting outside regularly, but doesn't maybe offer a lot of value for the entire community at large. And then a connector being, you know, a link in between one of our regional preserves or complementary open space with the foot system. So
I think those are appropriate.
okay. Chapter 2 is the existing conditions, which has some information about the four main properties that we manage. And the observed rates based on the basic issues. As I mentioned, our section is moving away likely from managing the Schultz Creek Canyon area trail bed. This was a zone as open space property, but the majority of the property is now being used for flood mitigation. And so it is likely that another entity, or I should say another division of our city might take over managing this particular piece of property. So I wasn't sure if we wanted to continue to keep this content in here, or I kept it in here, erring on the side that we can always update this again next year until, so we kind of change some of the language in here. But otherwise, I'm interested in it.
I'm not sure how the other commissioners feel, but I like leaving it in here and maybe changing a few of the words, you know, to show, you know, like it, the Salts Creek Natural Area Trailhead formerly a 20-acre legally designated open space. And, you know, and also to show, you know, the natural area, preserve the site of the city's first water reservoir and symbolized, and then the rest of the sentence. So changing the tense of what you're saying, I'd like to see it stay in there. As a reminder, nothing else will be lost. And, you know, so that we don't forget. And hopefully we can at some point add, you know, the trailhead or whatever to that area. That's just my thought. And also you mentioned, you know, Beal Wagon Bill. Is it appropriate to expand on that a little bit of why that's important? There's just one sentence saying that it was the location. No explanation of why it was important. Whether it was appropriate to add a little bit to that as well. And then I see Commissioner Norton has her hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say I agree with you. I think it's good to sort of have a little bit of a paper trail of history about Schultz Creek so that it doesn't just drop off of this strategic plan, whereas the last one, obviously it was an open space designated property and then it would disappear the next strategic plan. So I think it's good to leave it in for at least one more round of strategic plans. And if they choose to delete it, you know, the next update, that, you know, that might be something else. So I just wanted to lend my support to your comment. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
I completely agree with that living in there, especially if we in the future that like this propose to having the replacement of that open space. And that will be really just like to replace these, and then we could drop it from there. Right.
Okay, thanks for that detail. And then still be updated the current amenities at our property. So if you see anything that still needs to be updated, please let us know. Just kind of run through this quickly. Next is the management and maintenance of open spaces. There's also a chart for that.
Real quickly on that one, on the current state, we're planning on updating those numbers based on the statistics that are going to be reported later in the meeting today.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So that those numbers do change quite a bit. You know, on these special.
So you're saying in the chart?
And on page 7.
Oh, under the current state.
Yeah.
Yeah, minor point on picture can trash services. There are trash cans. But I don't know if that, what constitutes.
Yes, those were just implemented this year. Yep. So I think that needs to be updated as well. Yep, thanks.
She did update it, but city bins. Sure.
Yeah, that actually has been going really well and helping to keep the park area. This next section, the mission goals and strategies. The role, duties, and structures in that first paragraph. There were some comments about having a joint membership with Parks and Recreation for potentially from county open spaces. We didn't change the language in this, and I just wanted to hear more thoughts on that, or if we wanted to provide some additional edits about that section there. On that.
Could you explain how that would work? What
You
you're
know,
trying to,
I think in our
Trying to
current
accomplish
plan, it does say that there's a goal or an action item of giving a presentation for other commissions. So that could be one thing. I wasn't sure if we actually need to update this paragraph to reflect that as well. That's it.
Question. So the Open Space Commission predates the PROS division as it currently exists, correct?
Yes.
Has there ever been discussion of not just looking more closely, but like visiting the amounts of commissions and what their commissions are, especially when there's significant overlap?
That's a thought. In fact, I believe at one time that the two commissions were combined, the Parks and Recreation and Urban Business Commission. But can you, you know when that was from?
Don't remember dates, but open space needs were handled as part of the Parks and Recreation Commission previously. They were separated out because I think some folks who were on the commission with an open space only interest were not really interested in hearing the routine Parks and Rec type updates about park amenities and recreation programs and facilities. And so that's why they were separated. If there's interest in reviewing that decision or thinking otherwise, I'm sure we'd be happy to reduce our numbers of commissions if appropriate. Was that helpful? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I certainly, I would be for, I think it's be more efficient, better use of government resources that we're all taxpayers of, and very complementary. So I would certainly be in the camp of advocating for us governing, advising, and rulemaking bodies just across the board, and then especially here. So that would be I would advocate for that.
So we put that on a future agenda, discuss it. Any other thoughts about that paragraph before we keep moving? This is the ordinance code for the commission here to be kind of a beginning of that meeting. This is the basic kind of what the commission wants to commit to doing as far as updating the strategic plan every year. I wasn't sure if this needed to be like a yearly process that the commission wants to go through, but can support the commission along with. you have thoughts about that?
Everything's appropriate, I think.
Good.
And can you remind me what fiscal year is for the city as opposed to the
Yeah.
calendar year?
It's July 1st through June.
When you're talking about yearly, or you're talking?
Well, I don't know. We can certainly update this at the end of our fiscal year as well. For some reason, we've just traditionally done it the first part of the new year. So, whatever. Much for you guys. And then the next section, that real meat of the plan, the goals and strategies. It's really where most of the updates you'll find them there. So this first goal, to cultivate and support partnerships that result in new approaches and best practices for space management. This was some of the comments that we took from that discussion to cultivate new partners, particularly developers, to work together on implementing local open space and connections for Floods and Flagstaff open space properties as part of their development. And I wasn't sure how if we wanted to keep that in, if we wanted to narrow that phrase down to some kind of more action later.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes, I do. I wanted to comment on this section. Maybe it would be better, instead of naming specific developers, maybe we just say particularly developers, or we could say large landowners, so that it doesn't leave any of the other developers potentially out that we'd be willing to partner with, or, name these necessarily specifically, although on the other hand, they do own the largest parcels of land that will be up for development in the next few years, well, currently and through the next few years. So that might be one way to trim it down a little bit. But that was my only comment on that.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Norton, I think that the sentence on being similar to the Chamber of Commerce and state legislators doing listening tours with developers, was that your comment? Do you recall?
I did mention something about that. And that was really just sort of an example of how there's been conversation from those entities, and, maybe as citizens or as a commission or the community development department, when it might be an opportunity for those interests to express their, wishes and needs to the developer community. So you could probably take that sentence out. I think just the idea of cultivating new partnership, or maybe adding increasing communication, that might be a way to trim it down a little bit.
There's a second comment below that about cultivating a partnership with housing to encourage open space preservation and support affordable housing. I wasn't sure if that action item captured the idea as well. So there you go.
I'm not sure what that means. Like, I don't fully understand how a partnership with housing, like, I don't understand that comment. I don't understand the statement.
There was a comment at the last meeting about how that some people see the housing needs in Flagstaff as being in conflict with the open space needs and desires. And the commission wanted to express that, I think, that it didn't see that as a conflict, that they work together. so that when housing issues come up, we can acknowledge that we know that there are housing shortages and a housing emergency in Flagstaff, and we don't think it conflicts with open space. Necessary.
Could certainly rewrite that if it makes sense to in another way better, or it doesn't seem necessary. Certainly don't think we've done that.
My first thought is housing willing to partner with open space? You know, that's what goes through my head. I agree with Commissioner Pratt on this. I'm not sure I like the way this is worded. I understand the thought.
Let's see maybe another action item. Rather than this one could be inviting a member of the housing commission to the open spaces commission for presentation, a discussion for primary items.
I think it should be more action oriented, like something we're gonna do, and maybe that's invite them if they want to exchange ideas or collaborate on how we could support that. But just as it stands, it doesn't really, to me, I don't really understand it. I'm not sure what the to do part of that is.
Do we easily just already say in point 2, it is site, so I don't think that's number 3 is really necessary to be there.
So to just broaden the language in number 2.
Partnership with, partners.
Because it's what I'm saying. Yeah.
For goal 2 to promote the acquisition, protection, and restoration of native lands, natural heritage, and scenic resources. We brought this a little bit. I think there was just one strategy under this goal fire, and this first strategy is new from that last discussion. So to collaborate with the open space section to create a open space master plan, comprehensive for the Flagstaff community. And then some action items that we determined as well. So I wanted to pause, make sure this met the open space objectives strategy.
See a couple of hands. Mr. Norton.
Thanks. My comment actually was about the previous line that was causing some confusion. If we could maybe revisit that for just a second. I think sometimes the term affordable housing, is where it gets maybe misused or something, because housing, if we're talking about the housing department and actual affordable housing with regard to, income-based and assistance-based housing, and wanting open space in those areas that get developed as affordable housing, usually there's such a high density that you're not going to get open space except for maybe some foots connections. So there's that side of it. Then there's the side of it, as Sylvia was alluding to, where we do want housing that's being built to work in conjunction with open spaces. So I just wanted to lend that comment as it gets rewritten. I remember the comment being made, and I think it was with the intent of in affordable housing communities that they don't get forgotten for open space. But I'm wondering if maybe Foots is the only way we would get something that was open space in those communities. So I just wanted to comment on that. Thanks.
Thank you. And also, Council Representative Harris, your hands up.
Yes, thank you. I know I'm new to the commission, and so I'm really here to listen and to offer any input that might be helpful. And I'm on the same track back to the housing. I think maybe if we took out the word affordable and talked about workforce housing, that might help people to understand that, I think we're all in this together. And so we know that we have a housing shortage, whether it's workforce or affordable or anything else. We do need to all be working together to make sure that we can try and meet all of our goals, the open space as well as, the housing for our citizens. And no, they probably don't pay the same kind of taxes that those of us who own our homes pay, but they are a part of the community. And so we do need to think about that. Just a comment.
Thank you.
Great. Moving back to goal number 2, we were just discussing the first strategy, whether or not that seemed to meet the comments from last meeting. Especially both of those strategies.
Any comments on that item?
This is Mrs. Commissioner Norton. I just wanted to say that I think this is well phrased and definitely meets our objectives and the items that we talked about last month. Thanks.
So for the next strategy is research land management best practices, preserve natural resources, promote ecological diversity, and contribute to the needs. So there was some discussion about cutting some of these. And, I think when we were having this discussion, there might have been some confusion between the different types of plans that we have, our management plan versus the open spaces strategic plan. And so in preparation of our strategic plan, we were wondering if maybe some of these goals and action items might fit better underneath the program strategic plan as opposed to the commission strategic plan. So, but maybe the commissioners would like to comment on that.
Are you doing the 2.3?
I think it's,
What would be 2.3?
it would be 2.3.
I've thought, as dangerous as that is. I was not at the December meeting, so my humble apologies for that. But this, to me, reads way more like a master plan strategy. We're getting into very specific goals and objectives that I would, from my perspective, be more appropriate in a management plan. This is very long and very detailed, and you can almost cut and paste this and just retitle it master plan, and you would probably be 95% done with your master plan. So I think a lot of this could be lifted and shifted into your master plan, and we could focus on, I don't know how, this is so many different things for this commission that meets once a month. It just seems so out of scope for a commission, but that's just me. I'm relatively new, so I absolutely get that there's a lot of ignorance in these comments potentially, but that was my initial thought when I read it. I was waiting. I'm glad that you brought that up because that was my sort of overarching view is this a master, is this the plan or is this like a strategy? It seems like implementation of strategy, a master plan. So anyway, that's my observation.
Next Commissioner.
And we did take out all of strategy 3.2 because of that. It's like, wait, that's our work, not the commission's work. Yeah.
You know, I think when this strategic plan was prepared a few years ago, it did err on the side of including a lot more detail rather than less. And when I read through this, I do see a lot of overlap from the goals and strategies that align with our section as well. And a lot of this work, I think some of it is being done by our section, and the work that's not being done is probably on our radar. And I think it's great to have overlap if there is places where the commission can help out. But it sometimes I do think like if this is something, these particular action items seem outside of the realm of even the commission being able to help, then maybe we just cut some of the content.
And
You know, if Commissioner Hedlund has that comment on other sections, we can go back and go through some of those others with that mind.
And when I had read through this as well, so didn't you say that 3.2 has already been kind of cut?
Yes.
And the same, I looked at goal 4, and I thought that, also strategy for goal 1 and goal 2 also kind of fit that same goal.
Yep.
And to be better off in the program strategic plan or master plan isn't ours.
And the thing that struck me about that was that when we looked back at the ordinance that created the open space, and the duties of the open space commission, was obtaining public input and participation in programs such as environmental education and interpretation and the use of open spaces. So I think my guess is that that's why it's in the strategic plan, to follow those duties.
But when I look at, like strategy 4.2, provide support, creating a volunteer program that promotes land ownership, and, that seems more program oriented than the commission. Just some of those strategies just seem better suited there than here. And it'd be one thing, you can invite people to make presentations to us in those regards, but I don't think it's appropriate in strategic plan.
And when I first approached amending this, I actually took out this whole section. So and I was like, well, maybe they wanted something in there still. So I'm hearing take out 2.3 altogether.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
I feel like a little bit of this, can of worms here, but like if I look at these goals, like what meaningful work will we do, given our time frame limitations? Like how are we meaningfully going to cultivate and support these partnerships and approaches? We're really going to get somebody to come here and tell us what they're doing, right? And in a 2-hour presentation with a month between meetings, are we going to really make any impact on that? Can we focus on like 2 or 3 things we could do that you can't? Like where can we add value to your work and help you with what you're doing? Is it funding? Is it acquisition? I mean, this day-to-day stuff just seems so out of scope for this commission, like just so out of scope. Like worrying about signage and all that sort of stuff when we might have like really strategic level, and to me, acquisition and funding jump right out. Like that seems like a place where we could maybe add value to the work that the open space, not like trying to help you figure out how to manage a land. If we met every day, maybe we could do that, but those are just my thoughts. I think we can add value in other places, and we're spending a lot of time on really nitnoid level things here. And I just wonder if we're adding any value at all by doing that.
We can certainly revisit this, like, with that lens in mind. And see what it would look like if we really pared it down to the very essentials. And, you know, this plan is really here to support you and mission, what you would like to achieve, so if this does seem like over the top and too much detail, we can, you know, as we work on the master plan, we can incorporate a lot of these details into what would be guidance for our section and narrow it down for the commission. Seems the most appropriate. Sure, we have to do that. Yeah, Commissioner.
I agree. There's a lot of detail here that better fits in operational, tactical type planning. And the higher level is a good place to use this commission as a guide. And I've tried this in a couple different venues. If we can't fit the strategic plan on one sheet of paper, then we have too much detail. And frankly, it works, because that really forces a very careful look at what is it that the commission can do and should do at that highest level to assist in the maintenance and growth of the open spaces system here in the city. So that's what I would encourage us to work towards.
Does that mean we revisit the whole thing? Does that mean we edit what we have? Like, how do we do that?
But just thinking about that, and yeah, I'm happy to take advice. We can certainly implement the changes that we've had here so far. And we could make a second version where we do pare it down to, you know, 1 page or, you know, something more minimal. And then, you know, the commission, we're welcome to bring that back to the commission and you guys can decide what you'd rather go forward with. Yeah. I'm not sure where that leaves us here today. We want to continue this process, kind of going down through here. We can accelerate here and just kind of move down through here. I don't want to waste your time.
We're almost done.
Yeah, so, okay, so we hear that on strategy 2.3 here, and the next goal, goal 3, which is promote equitable access to the space areas. We left the first section kind of unchanged, and then the second section, second strategy, more or less, we also thought it would be better to be incorporated in the strategic plan for our program. And, you know, we could look at, you know, modifying some of these with the eye of like identifying like what would the should be doing to support these actions. On the next goal, goal 4, which is foster discovery, learning, and stewardship.
Most of that.
Most of that, yeah. We suggested this cutting.
I would like each commissioner to follow the Parks and Recreation Space events web page or the Facebook and Instagram pages. Because that does help spread the word about what's going on. But maybe that's in the job description of the commissioners rather than the strategic plan.
You know, that's the majority of goals, strategies that's identified in this plan. The next section is identifying priority action items that we're focused on. So maybe now would be a good time to break into the idea of coming up with those 3 top goals.
Sounds like yours are goal 2 and goal 5. Acquisition of open space and funding.
Yeah, I like this integrated open space system goal, like attempting to bring some level of cohesion to all the different things we have that may not be called open space, but serve or act as the same thing for the community and our members and the resources that we're interested in. So like, and I think we could maybe add value, there, like creating like a vision or helping create a vision for an integrated open space system that serves everybody's needs. Funding always seems to be a tough one in government. I mean, every time we talk, I hear about if we get this grant, right, and sustainable funding. I don't know what role we could play in that, but that seems like that would be potentially somewhere we could add value. In my head, I was thinking like line of effort, like preservation and procurement, like don't lose what we have and gain some more and or integrate what we have better. Provide, like help with, like what can we do to help with resources and promote. I like alliteration as we remember things. And I was like, in my head, those are like the 3 lines of effort that this commission could potentially like add some value to. I don't know how they align or map with this, but I kept coming back to that.
And we did add as an action item, investigate how other communities fund the completion of an open space system and provide a report that goes to the funding.
And I'm kind of thinking along the same lines as Commissioner Applin. You know, maintaining, what we have now. The whole idea of the integrated open space system and sustainable funding. I mean, that's been something we've talked about forever. It would be nice to be able to see that come to fruition some way. The kind of ones that I look at as being my top 3. I mean, there's some other goals there, but if I had to pick 3, that'd be what I would. Kind of on a related note, we were talking about what other communities do. I do city code stuff that I've been looking at in the past. That was a piece of what I'm looking at, so I could, if it's helpful, I could, bring that over to the commission, what I found out related in relation to funding from different open space programs around the country.
I think that'd be great.
So that piece would be cool.
Go ahead.
I have a good start on that, so I can overcome that.
A quick organizational question. Do commissions generally, like if you map a commission to government, to city government, do they generally map to like the division level? Or is it just sort of all over the place? So in other words, like the airport commission has a corresponding what in the government? That's in economic vitality or something, and what is that level? Like how is there a, you know, like from an outside perspective, can you easily sort of deduce that, or is it just kind of all over?
I would say, Commissioner, that it varies within the city structure. The airport commission that you just named is related directly to a section. So technically, in our organization, it's a division, and then a section, and then a program in hierarchical order. So airport is a section within the economic vitality division. We're just thinking through, probably most commissions in the city also relate at this section level, similar to open space. You guys are working with Robert directly. Parks and Rec works directly with Amy Hagan, the Assistant Parks and Rec Director. Housing is a section within community development. Planning and zoning is a section. So I think for the most part, that's how it's laid out.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wants to chime in on top 3 goals to try to narrow focus to?
I think the 2 is really just the funding and what is the word here? Ensuring net gain, not loss. In the overall open space, that is just the first thing that I have in mind when I joined this commission. And the second one, of course, the funding to maintain all the things that the open space needed. Number 3 for me is really just hard to say it because all really related. We really have to collaborate with others. We really have to know what's going on in the city scope, really. It's like with the community development, with Park and Rec, with the of course the housing and the partnership with the private owners, private land owners. We really have to do that. So I don't know whether that we could clump it to 1 for the 3rd one, but the 2 is definitely that's the one that I have in mind.
Just to make sure I capture that, you spoke about funding, ensuring net gain, net loss, and collaboration.
Yeah, not only collaboration, but also work closely with them to make it really just to make some sort of understanding each other why we are doing it and what actually the advantage for both sides. Which I don't know how to get there for the 3rd one.
But that really is part of the goal of having an integrated system become a reality through acquisitions.
Right.
Because how are you going to know what's available if you don't, if we're not involved in the process?
Commissioner Norton?
Thanks. Yeah, I was coming at this obviously from sort of a community development and planning and zoning side of things. And so my 3 top priorities for goals would have been similar to what's being mentioned, but number one, to see an integrated open spaces system become a reality through the prioritized acquisitions, recognition, and capitalization of opportunities that become available. Secondly, to collaborate more with the community development for open space preservation. And then lastly, the city code update planning. So those were my three sort of priorities within the goals listed, and kind of personal priorities as well. Thanks.
Capture that.
So what's the next step? We know the three goals. So we revise the whole thing based on that? Or,
We give it an option, like an option, the more pared down version.
okay.
And there's a lot of background at the beginning of this too, and I wonder if we just have that as an attachment. That the strategic plan really is one page, front and back, and then there's an attachment in the background.
I was just gonna say it's an interesting way of presenting. Not sure how I feel, but
Yeah, and I think I captured thoughts on the three. But I wasn't sure, Commissioner Fox, if I had captured yours. I think you spoke to it a little earlier, but I wanted to give you another chance to have anything else you wanted to add about like the three top goals to there.
I'd like to back this up a little bit in terms of using some of these items here to help create a real focused mission and vision for the commission. Because in some ways, for me, bullet 2, see an integrated system, that's to me the high level. That's the highest level of what I think this commission can help achieve. And then, so that would be kind of our vision. And then looking at mission, vision, and then strategic goals. Because then the strategic goals feed the mission and vision. And I really like what folks have come up with about the bullet 2.
Chair Wilson, I don't think I have any other things to share on the strategic plan. With the exception of, I tried to identify like maybe some actual action items in addition to the priority actions that you listed there. It might be worth mentioning these tier 2, like, otherwise I think I might get.
I'm sorry, Lisa. Grade them.
Well, the goals that the commission kind of chatted about in December, I tried to outline like actionable items for those that maybe would support our program. And I think all of the comments that the commissioners have had so far would support these as well. So I can mention these. So you talked about integrating think one thing that might be a helpful action item would be to bring forward opportunities that the commission learns about in the community. So we can maybe work to include that as an action item. We talked a little bit about sustainable funding, so investigating other communities that you were saying, which Wilson, about how they fund their space programs, providing some feedback for the rest of the commissioners. And that just doesn't have to rely on you. And then I think Commissioner White mentioned last time about working with outside funders. And so I put down here as an action item, my research and alternative funding sources that would support the commission's goals. And then under enhancing community knowledge, like working with constituents to share knowledge of the open space system. We didn't really talk a lot about that in this meeting, but last time we talked about that, so and then since we've been talking about the master plan and building the vision for open space system, and that's something that our sections are working on to research master plans that seem interest that you're interested in seeing or that you identify as having desirable components could also be included in actually in like a shortened version of a strategic plan. And then maybe along the same lines, we didn't even talk about regional plan this time around, but researching regional plans that are supported in open space. Area of revision for the city regional plan. Those are just some final takeaways. It could be action items. Ready to select the next step.
The only, the map of the open Mesa, because that hasn't been changed, at least on this copy. Showing North Mesa as a priority of, as a open space or park.
Excellent.
That was the last thing I had. So that complete our discussion on the strategic plan for now.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks so much for being with me. All those
No, that's all
I really appreciate it. I know it's been a bit of a slog. So
Yeah, the only other comment I would have is if we're making some major revisions of how this is laid out and the pieces of it, would it be possible to see a copy, maybe a week before our next meeting? So
do our best.
as opposed to a couple days,
Yes.
we'll get a chance to really go through it, look at it, and really think about it. That would be nice. All right. In that case, I guess we will move on to item B. Open Spaces Commission Chair and Vice Chair appointments. This is informational discussion and a decision item. Robert, do you want to start the discussion with maybe a little background of what we're up to?
Yeah. It's up to the commission why they want to elect chairs. I think most commissions choose to do that at the start of each year to have a chairperson and a vice chair. As we know, Commissioner Wilson is the chair currently of the commission, and his responsibility is to coordinate and run the meetings. That we meet once prior to the meeting to kind of go over the agenda together. Other than that, there's not a lot of other commitments. And the vice chair fills in with the chair anytime the chair is gone. So the term of office can be as long as your term. So if you have a 3-year term, you could have a 3-year chair position. Although if the commission would like to elect a new chair and vice chair at the start of every year or at the start of the fiscal year, they're more than welcome to do that as well. I included each of your term expiration dates on there. And so Commissioner Bruce Fox, Commissioner Nat White, and Commissioner Jimmy Bushman, all of their terms expire at the end of, or excuse me, April 1st of 2023. So if you're interested in reapplying, you'll need to resubmit an application with the city clerk's office about, a month or two in advance. And then the city council will be forwarding those applications. I have too much else to add unless you have any questions.
Why is that for 1/2023? Is that finishing the term of others?
Yeah, so if we had a commissioner step down, then when they elect another commissioner, they will fill that position until the end of the term.
Okay.
And then they stay to the positions, so not all of the commission is done at once. All the commission.
Because he just is here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Commissioner Fox is filling in Bussner's position, which expired.
And can I assume that you're interested in the full term after?
Yes, I
Or the same with Matt and Commissioner Motion, hopefully to reapply when the time comes. So I guess open it up for any discussion about anyone has a desire to take on the chair position for the Open Spaces Commission. We will entertain anybody who might be interested and
I might add, this might be a perfect time. It's really redoing the strategic plan to like really help achieve what the commission wants to see.
Well, when I recall about how many months ago, you agreed to serve another year as a chair. So I really will nominate, if you accept that, you as a chair for another year.
another. I was hoping to share the wealth. So,
I'm too new, so I'm willing to learn, but somebody has to guide me.
well, if we have no motion to make any changes, then we don't have to.
I think it would be beneficial to have a chair, a vice chair.
The vice chair.
Yeah. And it might be important for us to go through the formal process of if Commissioner Wallen is nominating you for that. Second. So if you accept.
Look for the second, so. Because I nominate you, I move to
All right,
to have you as chair.
do we have a second? Do-
Yes, I will.
And we have a second from Commissioner Fox. So all those in favor, say aye.
Hi.
All those opposed, say no. And yes, the motion passes.
Did you say aye
I was non, I abstained.
She accepted, so yeah.
I did abstain, but I accept. So, but we do not have a vice chair. And it would be good to have somebody in that position in case for some reason I can't make the meeting. So, yes, we would entertain any discussion of anyone who would like to step forward to the vice chair position. And as Robert said, that basically would be only if I was unable to attend the meeting. accepting nominations. Anybody?
Bruce?
That's what it looked on his face. Should I or shouldn't?
I'd be happy to do it.
Okay, so I nominate Bruce Appling to become a vice chair for this commission.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. All right. So, takes care of the last business item. We're down to the reports and updates. First up is council representative report. Council Representative Deborah Harris, are you still online?
And I have to apologize, I didn't get a heads up about this. Councilmember
There
Harris,
he
but had any updates from? This is a great time to do.
Nothing like being put on the spot.
Well, that's okay. I will definitely be attending these meetings in person because my internet is real spotty. So you guys have been going in and out, but I've been able to catch most of it. I really don't have anything to report at this time. So hopefully next time we meet in February, I will have a little bit more to talk to you about, maybe, or to report. But if there are any questions that you have for me, you can definitely ask and I'll see if I can answer them.
Anybody have any questions for Councilmember Harris? Guess we're all good.
Okay, great.
See you next month.
Yes,
So
I'll be here.
the next report is for the Planning and Zoning Commission representative report, which is Commissioner Norton. So this report will become a regular agenda item. Is that correct?
That's what we thought, yeah.
Yeah. Hi,
Okay.
we just, Robert and I had discussed and kind of based on my comments from in December that, maybe we establish the liaison giving a report to the commission to just, enhance the role of the liaison and how I can serve this role more fully. And then, just a little FYI about, my role on P and Z. I will have served almost a year coming up in February. And then shortly, I think it was in May, was my first meeting with all of you as the liaison. And planning and zoning is a citizen advisory board to the city council. We vote as a recommendation to city council. So, we don't necessarily stop anything for the most part, unless maybe it's a conditional use permit or something, but our recommendations, whether they're yes or no, is what goes to city council. And, if we've got a no on something, it might raise a flag for them to inquire of our reasoning and such. We meet twice a month on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, and we get our agendas on the Friday before, similar to how this commission meets. So I don't always have a lot of advance notice, but for instance, I have a P&Z meeting this Wednesday. And if there are things that are, maybe of interest to open spaces or cases that are coming before us that might involve open space issues, I think I would be able to, let Robert know and have him send out an email that there is something that is of interest on the agenda for planning and zoning. But all of our meetings are, streamed live and recorded, so anybody can tune in or watch later after the meeting's over. And our agendas are posted on the city's website, just in the same page that the city council agendas are there. So that's always a good informational thing of what's coming down the pipeline. And another thing I would suggest is the development status reports. That is on the city website as well. Kind of tells the greater community and anybody that's interested what applications are in the community development department, what cases might be coming before planning and zoning and coming before city council later on. And next month, Robert coordinated, as he mentioned, to have Alexander Pucciarelli, the current planning manager, and Michelle McNulty, the planning director, come talk to us. We had talked about in December how we wanted to better understand the development process and where we might have a voice on behalf of open spaces earlier in the process. Because sometimes when cases get before planning and zoning and even beyond the city council, sort of all the discussions have already been made, and we'd like to maybe have people in the community development department just advocate for open spaces, be aware of what our desires are and some of the parcels and land that maybe we've identified as high priority for preservation. So I'm looking forward to having them come explain the process to all of us, and that they can advise us on how we really can have maybe a voice moving forward to achieve the goals that we've been discussing all night and in December as well. So anyway, that's kind of where things are at. I don't have anything that's coming up this Wednesday that is involves anything with regard to open spaces, but I will keep you posted and make these reports every month to you. So thank you.
Thank you. And I guess next up is the open space management report. Robert and Sylvia.
So we able to give anything about.
We have a new staff member who's on, Sarah Holditch. She's on the Teams meeting. And she's our open space educator. And she just started today as her first day. So we're on boarding. And welcome her. Yay!
She'll pop in and introduce yourself maybe next month. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
And we also started doing full moon hikes. The last one that we had, January 6th, I think it was, a Friday night. It was snowy, it was cold, but not as cold as tonight. We had about 17 people show up for it. So the next one is Sunday, February 5th.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful night. Yes. Everybody said it was so nice at the open spaces program to arrange for the moon to rise right now.
So it will be in the same place, Buffalo Park?
Buffalo Park, yeah. I figure that's the safe place during all the snow and ice, right?
This is Lola. I have one question. Both in the October and November monthly report, there's mention of Picture Canyon boundary and encroachment project. Can you explain what that's about?
Yeah, I can talk about that. Actually, I probably should reword that. But when we so this happened before we purchased the property, but there's one of our neighbors where the Sheep Hill 9 is located at. A prior owner, so not this current owner, came into the state property, and there's a large cinder pile there that's associated with the mine. So we've been working on a solution with the mine to figure out how best to make sure that there's no further impacts to the reserve. This is a number of years ago that actually was created, and I think we're coming up with a solution to fence the property. We did talk with the mine about trading a piece of property for something that's not impacted. But because the state owns that conservation, the property, they would need to bring that. And we haven't had a lot of detailed discussions with the state that indicated that they were interested. So,
So that occurred prior to the purchase of?
yes,
Purchase.
so not since it came from the legacy.
Thank you.
Where is that?
The mine is on the west side of the picture canyon, so we share a boundary with those.
The big cinder hill that they mine.
Yes. Okay.
The cinders are pushing off the back.
Thank you.
And it came up because we were doing a boundary survey of fence survey of the boundaries in Picture Canyon. So that's why it came recently.
Thank you. And then this open space status report.
Statistics. So Robert included this statistic for 2022. And of the visitors to Picture Canyon, to McMillan Mesa, and to Observatory Mesa. The numbers at McMillan Mesa were huge this year, mostly in June, May and June, because all the trails were closed because of fires. And Buffalo Park was closed because it was an access for the fire department. And so people were using open space properties because they were still open, but particularly McMillan Mesa Natural Area. So next year, those numbers may hopefully aren't that high because we won't have a big fire season again. And of interest, I thought at the trail register for Picture Canyon, 72% of the visitors were from somewhere else other than Flagstaff. 11%, so we asked, are you Black, Indigenous, or a person of color? And 11% identified that way. And veterans or active military, because when I was in AmeriCorps, those were things that I was supposed to report on, and homeless or houseless as well. We had last year 657 volunteers. Donate, and which is the equivalent of a full-time, well, a little bit more than a full-time staff person, right? Because full-time is 2,080 hours a year, and we got 2,800 hours. And 2,600 people educated about Flagstaff spaces. And $421,000 brought in by grants.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to see all those statistics in one place, because I think sometimes we forget all the pieces and parts that make up the program and stuff, and so it's nice to see what's been going on, especially the grants. That's pretty significant. Keep up with it.
Thank you.
All right, and we're down to item number 8, informational items to and from commissioners and staff. Anyone have anything that they would like to share with the commissioners?
Well, related to Picture Canyon, I went to the symphony. I'm so proud that the city, have villages support that program between symphony and school district and the city, and featuring Picture Canyon. And my heart is always for the kids. Having seen the 3rd grade from Cromer Elementary School is really amazing. The music is amazing anyway. So I could feel it. I could feel it in every moment that the kids put the note in it. It's amazing.
It was beautiful, and I hope they recorded it.
Yes.
so that we can listen to it again.
No, I have a couple items as well. So the first portion of the basic plan grant for the observatory, so we'll have to see council for their approval and they approve that. And so that is state funding, $97,000 for doing basic retreatment up there. The second portion of that, which is federal funding, we hope to have in front of city council in February for their review and approval as well, so we can start that project in the spring.
What's the date on that? Robert, I'm sorry.
No problem. I'll take a look at it when we're chatting here.
Okay.
For the observatory base trail plan, we are working the final steps of setting up our contract with the Southwest Decision Resources to do their remaining public outreach and gestation for that. And so we do hope to continue to have movement on that this year. Hopefully at some point in front of city council. The other agreement is going to city council on the 21st of February. And then at one point in the past, the commission asked to revisit like whether we need to do in-person or virtual meetings. We chose to do these hybrid meetings for a little while. And whether or not we want to continue in a hybrid setting or go fully virtual was an item for us to discuss. So I thought likely I could put that on the agenda for next month. So I just wanted to kind of put that idea in your mind to kind of think about. I think there are benefits to meeting in person. There are benefits to be able to have a virtual option as well. As I thought about this, I do think like there are times that it's more beneficial to be in person, such as like strategic planning like this. So that's pretty helpful. And then also like if we're looking at maps or we invite the public to come. So we could also do like on a case by case basis, right? If we didn't want to be in person. So that's an option as well. Just put it out there for you guys to consider. That's all I have.
Great. I guess kind of along those same lines, potential future agenda items. Our next meeting is February 27th, 4 to 6.
2023. Because it's 2022.
Oh, did I say that? Oh, okay.
The written one, 2022.
Given the earlier discussion about restructuring the strategic plan, that's something that we should make sure that we have on the agenda.
Yep, talk about that on it. Yep, perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other items that any commissioner would like to see on the agenda for the next time or in the future? You see Councilmember Ferris has her hand up.
Yes, I heard the date, February 27th. Is that the next meeting? Or was that something else? Because I missed part of it.
The next meeting,
Okay, thank you.
or at the same time, 4 to 6. So any other?
Would it be beneficial potentially if we're gonna think about funding, would it be beneficial to get kind of an overview of the budgeting, I mean, like the budgeting process and sources of funding, so we have a kind of a holistic view of all of that, just sort of, shared context and how that works, because I don't fully understand myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, that unless anybody else has anything they'd like on the future agenda, we're down to adjournment.
Well, for the field trip, it might be, we talked about Schultz Creek before and the possibility about the trail. I know, actually just not now with the snow and everything, but it might be sometime in June or July. We could plan on that. Not necessary for the next month agenda. but
That in
Put that.
relationship to the trail realignment.
Yep.
Great discussion, thank you.
All right. Guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, let's go home.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. See everybody next.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
So, whatever.
The words are clear. Okay.
Those was part two.
I'll sign up for house managers.
There you go. I will be house manager on Friday. And so, and I got also in the reception.
So you can hire house managers that night?
Yeah.
I need to check with us.
With the box.